Notes from my May/June 2024 reading of The Chimpanzee Whisperer by Stany Nyandwi. Do make sure getting that name. So I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and this I got from the King County Library System. Seattle is in King County, at least currently. Washington State, United States of America, Planet Earth, the original. And this is an autobiography/memoir on zoologist Stany Nyandwi. So the full name, The Chimpanzee Whisperer, A Life of Love and Loss, Compassion, and Conservation, by Stany Nyandwi and David Blissett. To the 2022 Arcade Publishing first edition hardcover. I'll put the ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Friday, 31 May 2024, and finished it today, Tuesday, 4 June 2024. Same day I'm filming this, Tuesday, 4 June 2024. It's 200 pages, exactly including the acknowledgement section. It took me, so that's 5 days. So it was reading speed was good. That's the introduction. Book notes, including construction and design. I like the cover. I thought this was more of a return to kind of books I was used to growing up. Full text pages, not so big of a font as some books, closer to 1.0 spacing, and it didn't have like, it has some page breaks or break in paragraph formatting, but not much, and it's small. Like, here's the space, and it wasn't very frequent. And then it did have a little, let me see if I can find one. It had some footnotes with links. There's a different one where there's kind of like a dots emblem thing, but it's, again, not frequently used throughout the book, which was kind of nice. I was like, it took me longer to read each page than, it might be the longest yet for any of the autobiographies/biographies I've covered, aside from maybe like the John Muir one, which was actually an environment/conservation, I guess more environment focused, like kind of like this one. And I couldn't find one off quickly, so I guess oh, here's one. There's a little star, an asterisk, between some of the page breaks, so she's kind of more like a section change as opposed to like a tone change. And then the chapters were by kind of a theme. He had an overarching theme for the chapter, and they matched the content well. There's a group of pictures that has captions, as well as who the copyright for the picture is for or belongs to. I liked it. It's bigger than my hand, but that's okay. I like to read, so it doesn't have to be smaller than my hand. But yeah, so it was a little bit of nostalgia to kind of more of the books I grew up reading in terms of formatting. And took a little bit longer to read per page. So while it was 200 pages, formatted like other books I've read, it might have been more like 250 pages. Kind of thing. All right, reading notes. I did a bunch of little Post-its. Should I just go through them? So he focuses on, so he's from a man from Burundi, which I've brought up on this channel. When I studied abroad in South Africa back in 2012, I did a project on the genocide in Burundi, which he lived through. So it's kind of like coming full circle in that way. I included in my work back then an autobiography/memoir by a runner. So this is not the first person account of the genocide. I got exposed to it and studied that back in 2012. So it provides his life story. It's a comprehensive kind of, from when he was born, and it was March 1968 through kind of the writing, 2021, still writing, including stuff going on in the world at that point in time, and then published in 2022. So comprehensive in that sense. In terms of my soulmate stuff, he meets his wife when he's like 26 years of age, if I'm recalling correctly. But then they get torn apart by the genocide, and they're after, he says, over 5 years, they're kind of rejoined in a stable sense physically together in 1999, which made them approximately 30 to 31 years of age. So if we're saying like stable physical interaction, he's somebody who's like at the border between the sub 30 and 30 plus, but might, depending on like if I actually do an English thesis, like if I went master's thesis and did an English and stuff, depending on what I have, or maybe not, right, coming up with is there part of that stable physical interaction, then he would be in the 30 plus age category, 30 years of age plus, stable physical interactions with one soulmate. Okay. All right, so let me go through my post-its because I have a fair amount. Oh, he makes a comment about how Jane Goodall did not drink coffee with sugar in it, and one of the ways he made a living when he was young was in the sugarcane fields, so he liked coffee with sugar in it. That's what he did for money. But he's like, Jane Goodall doesn't like sugar in her coffee. And then he kind of draws in an illusion of, or not illusion, imagery of rivers of blood instead of water in reference to the genocide. It's the only, I would say, in my lifetime, right, African genocides are the only ones that kind of match the stereo genocide, as in people will come onto school buses and kill people with like machetes or guns and stuff. That doesn't happen in Europe, and as in my lifetime, I was born in approximately 1990s. There's a lot more elegant warfare, so to speak, in places like Europe nowadays, but it's like in Africa, still the real deal thing. But it was like, it was in the Bible, talks of, rivers will run red with blood, and you're like, well, Africa in the 1990s, Burundi, Rwanda, right, that kind of stuff. So that already happens. If people are looking for it, it's already happening, if one takes into account like human behavior. Then I thought, sorry I didn't provide the page numbers for that. 32, 33 for the Rivers of Blood one. For the other one, I think I lost it already. I did, I'm sorry. But it's before that. Then page 71, he talks about how, quote, they say realization is the first step on a journey to healing, but even when I realized I had a drinking problem, I didn't stop, unquote. And it goes on to page 72, and he talks about how even though he's making realizations, it's not changing his behavior. That takes additional effort. So there's the like realizing something, or like you could say like wake up moment of, oh, I have a problem, but then to actually change that requires physical effort and stuff. Then on page 72, it talks about how the busiest day at the zoo was Sundays, and he normally got 2 days off a week, and to give up, or to be able to take Sundays off so he could go to church, which is how he gets cleaned up from his drinking and smoking and stuff, is he finds it through God. So he wants Sundays off, but he has to give up 2 days to get Sundays off. And I was like, I wonder if that human animal seeking Sunday behavior also corresponds to Sunday being the most common day of conception of human children. Like most people get pregnant on Sundays. That came to mind there. Page 81. There's a guy called Chris Kerr. And I thought it was interesting. He brought up Chris Kerr on page 81, and then Chris Kerr on page 82, and then Chris Kerr on page 82 again. And so it's like about the period of just about a page of text. The full name comes up 3 times, Kerr. And I thought that was an interesting one. I was like, Chris is a very common namespace, and Christopher, Chris, and variations there. I was like, I wonder if he did that to make sure it was clear which Chris he was talking about. And that's just like a good thing to think about for writing an autobiography or biographies, how to make sure it's not confused with, while he does point out that this guy was Australian and worked for, was it Taronga Zoo in Sydney? If there were multiple Chris's on staff at the zoo, right, the surname, the last name, Kerr, helps in differentiating, both for his life story to make it clear, but also, if there was another Chris at the zoo, kind of thing. Don't know if there was, but I'm just saying. Page 95. he talks about how some of the keepers and caregivers for chimps want to get their own way all the time. You know, they want what they want, and they're going to make the chimps submit to them, not the other way around. And then he also brings up, the chimps know when someone is afraid of them, so they take advantage of the situation. So essentially those people who are like, want what they want and don't get good friendships, so to speak, with the chimps are also afraid. And so the chimps exploit it. So, you know, somebody wanting what they want all the time might be motivated by fear, so it's easy. At least for a different species, like humans might not be as good as exploiting that. We wouldn't live in the world we live in if that were the case, right? If humans were as good as chimps at exploiting the, you know, people wanting what they want and violating other people's rights kind of thing, right? The chimps figured that out. It's just from, they're acting out of fear, right? So it take advantage of the situation. So that's what they did. So 95. He doesn't quite phrase it like that though. That's me piecemealing it together per what was written there. Page 111. Oh, he talks about how the chimps were his only friends at certain points in life, and I was like, squirrels. They're not my only friends, right? But I think it's been taking care of the critters of the backyard has been the most eye-opening experience as to how social animals can really be, wild animals, and how much like they interact like humans, or even more positively than humans. Like I'd say there's squirrels out there who have had much more of a positive social impact on my life than humans I've worked with for years. You know, kind of, it is an eye-opening. And these squirrels are like 2 pounds versus a chimp might be 120 pounds. A chimpanzee might be 120 pounds, but point still holds of, yes. Oh, and I'm also going to point out real quick, this guy, he was born in Burundi. He's of African ancestry. That's a rarity in the books I've covered. There's like him. John Muir was born in Scotland, right? Land of his ancestors. Or continent of his ancestors, and then Priyanka Chopra Jonas was born in India, land of her ancestors. So there's very few, it's underrepresented in biography per what I've included on this channel, people being born in the lands of their ancestors, or continent of their ancestors. Then page 120 talks about his wife wearing the same clothes for a few months and her not being happy about it. And I was just thinking, I gotta document some more. I wear the same bra every day until it gives out, which is about 5 or 6 months. Typically, trying to make it last longer. It was like, different people have different standards. Okay, page 185, he brings up YouTube. Thought I had to bring that up. YouTube specific, right? Okay, and then he talks about deforestation in Africa. And I was like, growing up, when we heard about deforestation, it was 1990s job, right? It was for paper. Deforestation in Africa is for, so they can mine the ground under the trees for minerals and elements for electronics, such as vehicles, cameras, phones, computers, that kind of stuff. And I was like, the meaning of deforestation, why things are deforested. Not so much paper these days as electronics. So, less electronics, smaller electronics. Stop deforesting for electronics, you know, that kind of stuff. But people aren't, so there we go. In conclusion, those are my notes from my May/June 2024 reading of The Chimpanzee Whisperer by Stany Nyandwi.